Камеру я зараз відключив. Камеру, кажу, я зараз відключив. Ну, камера відключена, там ж батарея, типу, сідає якось. А як ти кажеш, ти робив?
Я робив через без цієї програмки, не думаю, що ця програма скидати вже цю камеру екстерну.
Ну, тут проблема, дивися.
Це прямо Explicit, чи як він там.
Ну, коротше, сама велика проблема була це під'єднати оцю камеру, щоб комп'ютер побачив. І через
Він його як вебку бачить?
Ні.
Ні? А як що?
Він його бачить просто як окремий девайс. А щоб побачив, виходить, дивіться, є спеціальна програмка, яка робить...
Wirecast я використовував.
Покажи мовчочок.
Wirecast там одразу.
Бачу, так.
От, він фрішний, він вирубав мені вебку і там нормально без цієї херні.
Ну, зараз я запишу, попробую. Правильно писав?
Ні.
Через
Wire, вірі.
типа в провод.
Провод. Це ті статті, що кидав Сергій, там одна з них. От можеш одразу загуглити. Вона фрішна і на Mac, і на Windows. Просто це була єдина, яка фрішна на Mac.
Ну, я фріш не пробував, вони, виходить, це він не знаходив. Wirecast.
Дивись, як швидко знайти, звідки я втягнув. Відкрий чатик IT Team, там де і лістай, коли Сергій скидав.
Чакі ок.
Так, ми розмовляємо.
Камера мікрофону там далеко.
Ну, тут вище.
А коли він скидав?
Це ще коли кілька тижнів тому.
О, чувак, а тут можна пошук?
Відкрий велику цей отут так, і просто пролистай на раніше.
Бо я цей часик не читаю.
От даремно.
Ну, люблю такі чати, знаєш, ти часу багато тратиш, щоб це все, ну воно неудобно.
Ні, ну я кілька разів на день його проглядав. Може там треба ж було трохи на сайт щось закинути.
Ще раз. IT.
Тут скоро має бути. Ти, мабуть, пролістав, то вже далеченько. Можна? Так, то вже далеченько. Там ми з Антонісом після літнику.
Давай я так пошукаю.
Просто там якраз прикольно дві статті, що як
Лінки для скачування.
Так. Все одно ми зараз нікуди не поспішаємо, в принципі.
Тут симпатичні дівчатки.
Ага, буває.
Ну, сидить
Руда?
справа від нас. Ну, як би сказав, що
Ну, яка саме?
ну, з родинкою на носі.
Не бачу. Ну, одразу справа, прямо? Нормально.
Це тут і жартники, чи тут всі?
Ні, тут взагалі всі підряд. А, ні. То він мені в лічку кидав. Зараз. Тоді потім я тобі скину. Все одно ми зараз будемо шарити. Ну, зараз міняти наступний варіант.
So guys, you can take your place. We will start in 2 minutes. People who are registering for come
Родинку
inside.
дівчинка зробила, зняти все. Давай.
Раз, два, тест, тест. Один, два, тест, один, два, один, два. Чути? Один, два, один, два.
So you can take your place, we are starting, finally. Guys, everyone who is staying, you can take places. So I'm happy to welcome all of you to this conference. I would like, on behalf of all the organization team, to thank you for the interest in the topic of the conference. It's quite a broad topic, and during this day, during today, from now on until 7 p.m., we will raise a lot of issues for the discussions which are connected with the future development of Ukraine, and not only, because what is going on in Ukraine affecting not only people who are living here, but also all Europeans. And as you are interested in this topic, I assume you understand this. This Young Ukraine Conference is a final event of the project, which is called Rebuilding Democracy, which was launched 6 months ago by organization Asia Kiev. There was a line of events held during these 6 months. Our president of Asia Kiev will tell you more about this. And today we will try to focus on different topics which you can think about when you say the word democracy or rebuilding democracy. Why it's important in Ukraine, I think everyone knows, because almost 2 years ago the important event happened in Ukraine which changed our life a lot. Everything what was true before was put under the question, and was put under the question by the young people. So that means that young people it is a force which is moving the changes in our countries. This conference is a unique opportunity to meet not only your colleagues with whom you're going to university, with whom you can meet in the street of Kiev or different cities of Ukraine, because we have registrations not only from Kiev and Ukraine, but also to meet young people from all over Europe, because we have representatives of Germany, Netherlands, Greece, Armenia, and Poland, and many more countries here. So please, use this opportunity during all this day today to chat to these people, to get to know what's going on in their countries, how youth in their countries see the happenings which are going on here in Ukraine. Because these students who are coming from Europe, they have a lot of questions to ask to you, and you are the people who can show them the real situation which is going on now here. Also, the conference will give you opportunity to talk to our prominent speakers. We have managed to gather lots of interesting people during all our 3 panels, to whom you will be able to ask questions which probably you could not ask just like this by means of Facebook or, I don't know, Twitter, or wherever it's using. So also, do not be shy. If you have a question to ask, please raise your hand and ask questions, because we will have a lot of time for communication between the panelists who are sitting in front of you and you. From these discussions, the new changes can happen. So new initiative can start. So it's all in your hands what will be tomorrow in our country and in Europe. So I would like to invite to the stage President of Asia Kiev, Anna Pykhtina, to give a presentation about what is Asia Kiev and the project.
Good morning, everyone. So, for those who just came today or some days earlier, welcome to Ukraine and welcome to Kiev. For those who just came to this university, welcome to the university. Let's start this morning with the presentation. First of all, I would like to give say a huge thank you for the university, actually, because this opportunity to organize this kind of events will not happen without them. As the president of Asia Kiev, and on behalf of my team, I would like to say that I'm really happy to see you here, that you could wake up so early and come, That's really brave from you in this cold time. So let's make hot discussions today. Of course, you already heard that Ala mentioned that the project is called Rebuilding Democracy. But what does stand under this project? I would like to explain really short. So let's start from the beginning. So the organization which organized it is IJ Kyiv, but the organization that organized and also was created is IJ. So as IJ is European Students Forum, it's interdisciplinary, political, non-partisan, and there is no national level, so there is no IJ Ukraine, but there is IJ Kyiv, IJ Ivano-Frankivsk, IJ Lviv, and other locals. And we have members inside and outside European Union. Next, please. We have a very nice vision. So IJ strive for a democratic, diverse, and borderless Europe. And we actually prove it by our projects and by the things that we organize, which is socially, economically, and politically integrated, and that values the participation of young people in its construction and development. Next. We also have the mission, and our mission is that IJ empowers students and young people in Europe to take an active role in society. So being here means being active. So today there is no time for sleep, and that Ala mentioned that you have to ask and be active. That's what we do. It creates a space for dialogue, again, like today, and learning opportunities, as well as acts and their representative towards decision makers. And you are the decision makers today. Moreover, IJ strengthens mutual understanding and brings Europe closer to young people. So now you've heard that there are some Europeans, so we brought them closer to you. Next, please. We have our means, which are intercultural exchange, and you see there's the Ukrainian girl. It's the official presentation. It's very nice always to see Ukrainian girl there. It's personal development and non-formal education. Of course, there's thematic projects, policy and advocacy, and forum for discussion. Next. So actually there's so much more happened during the 30 years of IJ, because we celebrated our anniversary in April, and it was the first event of the Rebuilding Democracy project. So we were founded in 1985 in Paris, but right now the headquarters is in Brussels. And apart from all these facts, I think the most important is that thanks to IJ executive advocacy, the Erasmus program was established. It's very important. So every time you hear about the Erasmus program, both Ukrainians and Europeans, you have to say thanks to IJ. And also there was so much more successful stories about our organization, but I think you will discover them after you start to communicate with people who represent this organization today. Next. So basically this is IJ today. We have around 200 locals, which are situated in 40 countries, and there are around 13,000 members. Can you imagine? That's the biggest association in Europe of students, so it's really cool. Next. We have a lot of amazing projects. I will just name them. It's the Election Observation Project, it's Eastern Partnership Project, Summer University, Democracy in Practice, and actually European Exchange, and there are much more. Actually, there are much more, and we don't have time to update this presentation sometimes, so sorry for that. Next. And as representative of IJ Kyiv, I would like to explain why it's so amazing to be a part of this organization in Kyiv and join us. So basically, we were founded 20 years ago. That's the picture of our first office when it's all started. And, you know, this is the picture from the celebration of our 12th 20th anniversary this February. I must say that I'm very proud that I'm representing this organization, because during this time we organized more than 200 European and local events, and there were lots of people involved, and all of them, they opened Ukraine, Europe, and themselves from the new site, which is absolutely amazing opportunity. Next. So yeah, 20 years old, one of the most active antenna in our network, organized more than 200 events, and of course growing and developing all the time. Well, it will be a long speech telling how many events we organize, so I will just say that we organize different kind of events and projects, starting just from the sports events and just gathering for social communication and also thematic conferences like this one, and some universities, which is the project of IG Europe. So we participate basically in all of the events, and usually around 200 people from Kiev are traveling all over the Europe during the year, even now. Next. So what you can do in IG? Take part in our local events. So it's really easy. Travel to European events, organize local and European events, even from Kiev, which is also cool. Create your own project and be journalist, content manager, designer, and of course, happy member. Next. Rebuilding Democracy is the project that we are currently working on. It's still on. And I would like to give a short presentation why we called it like this and why actually everything started. Next. So, 1 year ago, IG Kiev was elected as the hosting local of Agora, Autumn Agora 2015, and we realized that organizing an Agora it's too easy for us. And let's say we would like to gather more people, and you know, it's really difficult for Europeans sometimes to come even this time to Ukraine, and some of them are scared. I think all of you have some doubts or had them, or maybe your parents had. And for Ukrainians, you have to understand that media doesn't show the real picture about this. Like now it's safe. And we understood that we would like to use this opportunity to invite as many Europeans as we would like to. Therefore, there were 4 projects. This is the 4th one. There will be 5th one starting from the tomorrow. Oh my God. So there is 5 events in this project, and each of them was the one where Europeans participated, also Ukrainians, and we are very proud of this. So yes, as we said, it started in April, 6 months ago. The aim is raising awareness of the need of updating democracy in Europe, and also, of course, facilitating the young active participation in all levels. And actually, it's just the place where we can gather Ukrainians and Europeans. And when I say Europeans, I mean all the members of IG. Not only those who are politically European, but also some countries like Georgia, Russia, and Armenia, and Belarus, and others, because it's really important to have the understanding between all of these countries. Next. So briefly, the first conference was from 17th of 19th of April. There were around 100 participants. There was a huge cake, very tasty, and it was an awesome cake. And we had the anniversary event of our organization. The second one was the exchange between IG Dresden and IG Kiev, where our participants went to Dresden. Then there was the Summer University, when we had around 25 participants and more than 75 participants from Ukraine, and they traveled and they could explore and see the Ukraine from different sides. And at the moment we are at the Young UA conference, and tomorrow the Autumn Agora Kyiv starts. Next. Some pictures from the first event, second event, third event. Should be a group picture, okay? And should be group picture later. So this is how Agora will look like, I think even better. So actually, why to join IG? If you still have some doubt, here is the small list, is to travel and experience European cities from the local students' point of view, to find a network of 30,000 new friends, to develop your soft skills and also learn by doing a non-formal education environment, to find like-minded Europeans and develop your implementation of your ideas, and to share the Europe. And actually just to have a lot of friends in Europe, and just if you go into some country and you don't know who to talk to and who to contact to, who to stay with, it's just IG will help you anyway. Next. Where you can find the information about this organization, apart from talking to our beautiful participants today and us, is at the stand of IG Kyiv, which is in the hall. And also you can contact our HR responsible, whose name is Hanna Polishuk. And of course you can use the social network, Facebook, Vkontakte, and YouTube for that. Okay, and if you have any questions, of course you're welcome to ask. Thank you. Thank you, Anna.
And now I would like to invite to the stage the Vice Rector of Educational and Research, Professor of Taras Shevchenko Kyiv National University, Volodymyr Bukhrov, on the stage to give you a welcome speech to all the participants. It seems he went to think about his speech, and I would like sorry. While we are looking for him, I would like to invite to the stage next our speaker, which we are very proud to have here. It's Press and Information Officer at the Delegation of the European Union of Ukraine, and apart from this, he is also honorary member of AIG Europe, and the person with whom I think AIG in Ukraine probably would not be the same as it is now. It's David Stulik. I will be very happy to give you a floor here.
So, dear friends, dear Europeans here in Ukraine, it's really my honor and pleasure to be here today and represent the European Union. My ambassador, Mr. Tambinsky, is now out of the country, and he asked me, because he knew that I'm sort of related to Asia, he asked me to just speak on his behalf and pass his best and warm greetings, because for us, the youth, you are one of the key, let's say, partners. You are one of our best sort of networks to pass our messages here in Ukraine as well as abroad. So what I would like to say on behalf of the EU delegation is that indeed, as Allah mentioned, we have lived here through tremendous, and I wouldn't even be afraid to say through historical moments. This was part of European history that was written here during the last 2 years. It all started like almost 2 years ago on 21st November, when mainly young Ukrainians went to the streets to protest against the policy of that government that wanted to stop the signature of the association agreement. Despite the fact that most of these people haven't seen the agreement themselves, for them it was a symbol. And it was a symbol of a better European future for this country. So that agreement was a trigger for all these events that have started, and we are still living through these historical processes, hopefully, and here I think eventually the European values, our way of preaching democracy, human rights, rule of law will prevail over these, let's say, barbaric habits that are threatening our common civilization and our common heritage. So the good thing is that there are so many of these young European Ukrainians all around the country, and we travel a lot also to the east of this country. I've been a couple of times at the contact line, and I've met many young Ukrainian students, both female and male, who are standing there, even in this pretty cold weather. It's the second such a cold weather, when many of them are in trenches and are standing there defending our common continent. So keep this in mind when you are in this country, and if you have a minute in your program, just make an effort and go to the central square, Maidan, which is not far from here, and just walk that street up to the National Bank, to the Presidential Palace, and you will see a number of monuments of those sorry, those young people who were not afraid to, sacrifice themselves. So, well, we were part of this history. I mean, the EU delegation. We were very much following what was happening here. We've been meeting lots of people. We've been to Maidan a couple of times. MEPs. Lady Ashton was here. She visited Maidan on 10th of December. And all of them, and even afterwards, our that time presidents Van Rompuy and Barroso, when they walked on Maidan, they were so impressed, because you feel the history, like, you know, the young people with European flags on the streets and being determined, you know, to fight for these values. And this is something that I'm going to speak about in the second part, that unfortunately we in Europe somehow have forgotten about these values. Somehow we have forgotten that there are moments when you have to fight for these values. So this is a heritage. That's why this is a history, part of European history, because this is a reminder for you, for also young people from EU member states and from other European countries. And also, let's not forget that also your network has contacts in Russia. That's also another important thing. There are people like us who are also being suppressed. For example, yesterday we found out from our delegation in Moscow that one of their projects that they do with young people, with students, was sort of disrupted in Vladivostok. It's in the Far East, and students were warned to cooperate with Western agents, and half of the students even left that seminar. And I think that the second half are the brave ones, and these are the people that we also have to think about, we have to support and work with. So it's really a great pleasure that you made it to Kiev. This is a European city, as you would have noticed. This is a great place to be. It's also a great place for parties, and I know that organizers are also taking care of that part. So enjoy it and bring back home your best, let's say, memories, best observations, and share it with those back at home who are hearing only the news about this country on TV or through print media, which is of course just one small piece of the picture. So enjoy it, and thank you for coming to Kiev.
Доброго дня, шановні друзі. Я володію англійською, але за протоколом маю виступати державною мовою.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, friends. Actually, I can speak English, but I have to speak Ukrainian because it's according to the rules. And you can enjoy the Ukrainian language, by the way.
Завтра я зможу англійською на зустрічі з вами виступати, так сьогодні мушу державною мовою, хоча це приємно.
Tomorrow I will give a speech in English, and today I will give a speech in Ukrainian, and I hope that you will enjoy it.
Насамперед хочу привітати вас від усього колективу університету, від нашого ректора академіка Леоніда Губерського. Для нас велика честь приймати на стінах одного з найстаріших українських університетів таку представницьку кількість молоді з усіх країн Європи.
First of all, I would like to say a big thank you and say that we are proud and honored to organize this kind of event, and from all the workers and all the colleagues, and first of all from Leonid Gubernskiy, who is the rector of this university, I would like to say that we are happy that so many representatives of these countries are here today.
Буквально на днях наш університет відсвяткував 181 рік від початку свого заснування, і ми з вами знаходимося в найстарішій будові міста Києва в Червоному корпусі університету, якому теж вже майже 180 років.
So some days ago we celebrated 180 years of the university, and also now you are situated in the Red Building, which is one of the oldest buildings of this university.
За час перебування в університеті ви познайомитеся з різними локаціями нашого університету. Він не в одному місці розташований, але всі можливі ресурси нашого університету до ваших послуг.
So from tomorrow on you can experience, and actually from today, not only this location but also other ones, and we are hoping that you will enjoy it and see how different they are.
І бачачи програму цього форуму. Я щиро заздрю його учасникам з різних країн, тому що вони матимуть змогу познайомитися з надзвичайно і почути надзвичайно талановитих людей, які дадуть інший ракурс, можливо, аніж відомий вам усім ракурс бачення України.
And I'm actually really envy of participants who are now here because seeing the program, I can say that there will be a lot of different perspective on the things that you might hear about Ukraine.
Я бачу переліку нашого великого друга Дмитра Кулебу, Василя Федорчука, Дмитра Булаєва, тому якби я був студентом, колись мені дали можливість почути таких прекрасних спікерів про Україну, я був би надзвичайно щиро вдячний, бо це люди, які зможуть дійсно надзвичайно цікаво, не просто професійно, а ще надзвичайно цікаво розповісти про сучасну візію України.
And looking at the list of the speakers who we have today and those who are representing Ukraine, I would like to say that if I were a student now, I would enjoy this opportunity so much because they can give you a lot of information about Ukraine.
Підсумовуючи, хочу ще раз подякувати за те, що обрали саме наш університет, місцем зустрічі молодих людей з усієї Європи. Хочу подякувати організаторам за ту величезну працю, яка була вже зроблена для проведення цього форуму, і хочу побажати всім насамперед приємного спілкування.
And on behalf of the university, I would like to say a big thank you because this university exactly was chosen for the European Student Forum to organize this kind of events. Big thanks to organizers who are working on this all the time, almost 1 year. And I hope that you will enjoy it. And from my side, I would like to say also a huge thank you for this opportunity.
Користуючись нагодою, хочу поінформувати, що о 12 годині ми будемо до завтрашнього свята, свята Покрови. Фактично місяць буде експонуватися виставка ось тут в галереї Червоного корпусу. Виставка присвячена трагічним подіям на Майдані Незалежності та вулиці Інститутській. Хто матиме бажання, може ознайомитися, буде автор цієї виставки о 12 годині.
So today there will be the exhibition at 12 o'clock, which is dedicated to the tragic event that happened in the November and in the winter of those time. So you can have the opportunity to go there, and also the author of this exhibition will be there. So if you're interested, you're welcome.
А о 17 годині тут же в цьому корпусі в мистецькому салоні буде нагородження студентів і викладачів університету, які воювали чи то в Збройних силах, чи в добровольчих батальйонах на Сході до Дня захисника вітчизни і чудовий концерт української музики Національна капела бандуристів, тому хто матиме бажання, також запрошуємо побачити тих, хто справді бійці.
And today at 5 p.m. there are going to be the award session for those students of the university who were taking part in the events. And there will be the concert because tomorrow we are celebrating the Day of the Defender in Ukraine, and it's the official day off. Therefore, if you have time, you are welcome to go.
Дякую.
Thank you.
Thank you for such a nice welcoming speech. We are very happy to be in this university. So that's actually it for the opening ceremony. I will just briefly tell you about the agenda for today. So you have it also given to you on the registration, on the papers, but you also see the timing. So now, right now, after I finish talking, we will start our first panel discussion, Safeguarding European Values in Ukraine and the Eastern Partnership region, which will take place here. Right after, from 12 to 12:30, you will have a coffee break, which will be served in the hall here next to the registration place. From 12:30 to 2 p.m. we'll have 4 thematical sessions. About them I will tell you more at the end of the first panel, so I will tell you which session will take place where. From 2 till 3 you have break, when you can take a lunch or break to have rest. From 3 till 4:30 in this room again we will have a second panel, Investing in Ukraine, a good deal. So please come and see what we will be discussing there. Then again you have half an hour break, and from 5 till 6:37 we'll have a last panel discussion with the biggest amount of speakers, so it will be quite interesting, about role of youth in the political transformation of Ukraine. So all the panel sessions will take place here, so don't get lost. And yeah, in case you have any questions about the agenda of the places, you can always find people inside Kultis in the gray one with the blue A and ask questions to them. And now I would like to give the floor to our first panel and to invite our speakers to the stage and our moderator. David Stubik, Vasil Filipchuk, and Dmitro Bulat. Unfortunately, Dmitro Kuleba, ambassador at large for strategic communications and Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, could not attend this event because today in the morning he got fever and not feeling well to come here and spread his virus around. So that's why we will have three, but very cool panelists in the stage.
Okay, dear friends, dear participants, dear organizers of Young Ukraine Conference, good day everybody. I'm Armen Akinasias, the content manager of the Young Ukraine Conference. I've been manager since 2010, thus being one of the co-founders of IJ Yerevan, a local branch in my hometown in Armenia. Within my IJ experience, I have almost undertaken any possible position in IJ, starting out with a local fundraiser at my organization and finishing up being a policy officer in Content Energy Assistant in 2012-2014. Currently, I live and study in Boston, United States, thus making my MA studies at the Fletcher School of Foreign Diplomacy, the oldest and probably the most prominent diplomatic academy in the United States. However, before just getting more to the insights, first of all, let me extend my sincere apologies to the organizational team of this conference. Guys, we have been in touch for quite a long time here. However, the traffic jam and generally the connection flights from New York didn't allow me just to be here earlier today. However, I am very excited to be here today with all of you there and to be at Taras Shevchenko University, which is named after a worldwide known Ukrainian author. Today, even before just kicking off the panel itself here, many of you have already been approaching me and well, just simply asking me why you have traveled overseas to this conference and generally to Agora. You know, today I'm here because I believe in Ukraine simply. Today I'm here because I believe and trust in the European future of Ukraine. Today I'm here with all of you after 12 hours of exhausting traveling from New York because I believe in potential of this country and its uniqueness of this country's democracy. Today I'm here also because I believe that the success of Ukraine will be a common success for united and more integrated Europe. Within the frames of this panel and during the upcoming 2 hours, we do gonna have quite exciting and entertaining discussion where we will touch upon first of all, the rooting and afterwards also the safeguarding of European values in Ukraine, just trying to critically analyze how the Ukrainian society perceives the concept of European value system. Of course, the European integration of any country is first and foremost based on shared or common values, as we used to say. Democracy, rule of law, protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms are essential components of any modern and democratic state. These values have also been a cornerstone of the Eastern Partnership program to which Ukraine is part since its launch. As it was already said today, the Euromaidan revolution has opened a totally new perspective for rethinking over the values that the European integration can bring to Ukraine. As former president of the European Commission, Mr. Barroso once noted, the people at Maidan and the streets of Kiev, they're writing the new narrative for Europe. Today, the external and, of course, the internal challenges are almost crystallized, and it's time to think how Ukraine is going to pave its European future and its European power. Accordingly, the question is the following. Do we want to have a European Ukraine, or do we want to have just a European model and govern Ukraine? Is Ukraine ready to get closer in its ties with the European Union and get closer also to European standards? And of course, how can we, each of us, not being here on this ground, but being far away for many thousand miles, help the vast majority of Ukrainians for achieving their European dream? On this note, I would just like to represent our panel, because I think we got a very distinguished panelists here who would elaborate further already on the mentioned topics. So, first of all, let me introduce you Mr. David Sulik, who is sitting next to me now. As it was been said, David is currently employed at the EU delegation in Kiev at Present Information Office. David has really an exciting background and CV, honestly. When we're just making it, looking it through, it's really amazing. I really enjoyed it a lot. And but for most, of course, he's honorary member of IAG Europe. And furthermore, in 1997, he received also the award of Young European of the Year. As generally, his CV is very, very depth there, but mostly he was acting as a project manager and coordinator of several NGOs and civic platforms, mostly dealing with the Eastern European countries like Ukraine, Belarus. Among of his field interests are EU enlargement, neighborhood policy, development of civil society, communication policy, EU lobbying, and further on. So, David has MA degree in Society and Politics from Central European University, and also has taken up MSc course there at Warsaw School of Economics. Another speaker, unfortunately, as it has already said there, Ambassador Lashford, His Excellency Mr. Dimitrov Kulibab, was not here. However, we do hope that he will be able to later on to follow up the proceedings so far. The next speaker in our panel is Vasil Filipchuk, who is the chairman of the board of International Center for Policy Studies. He's actually ranked as a top expert in foreign policy and European affairs in Ukraine, considered to be one of the most prominent analysts, who contributed also a lot to the activities of institutions such like the Chatham House or Wilton Park. Furthermore, the most probably notable thing I've discovered for me that he was also the author of the European Integration Strategy of Ukraine, approved by the Ukrainian president back in 1998. And the last but not the least speaker is Dmytro Bilayev, who is the president of public organization Ukrainian Students' Union Students Abroad. Dmytro has been socially active since his student years, when he was the head of the University Student Council at the National Academy of Government Managerial Staff of Cultural and Arts. He has also launched several international events successfully implemented here in Ukraine and throughout Europe. He's also much more related to European Youth Business School of Cultural and Political Relations. So as you may see there, we got a very exciting panel, and in order not just to waste our time there with further remarks there, I would suggest just to start already with our panel. If you don't mind, David, maybe you are on the first list there, so maybe you can drop some of your remarks. Just before David will start his speech, I would kindly ask everybody, if you are posting something on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, I don't know where else you can post it there, please use the hashtag YoungUA, so just to keep a track also on it there. Thank you. So David, maybe I can give you the floor.
So I hope that I won't spam you too much this morning. So, well, when we were discussing this what sort of topic I should choose, I thought about the differences between European youth and Ukrainian youth. And in general, I don't like generalizations. So forgive me if I offend somebody on both sides, because this is something that I'm going to say related to, let's say, an average young person, both in the EU and in Ukraine. Well, at the first sight, you are all looking similar. You use the same, let's say, smartphones, you have the same interests, you like to travel, you all are using, let's say, the same social networks and listen to similar music, but when you look in depth into your world, your values, your style of life, you start to discover differences. And I picked up like 5 things, features that make a difference, which are different between European youth and Ukrainian youth. And again, forgive me if I'm doing too general if I make too general conclusions, because I think that the audience here is very, I would say, select, and that I think you are a minority, especially the Europeans who are here. I mean, those who come from European countries are in minority in their country. So forgive me, I'm not intending to offend you. So first thing that makes a big difference is that young Ukrainians are annoyed. They are fed up with the system. They are fed up with the way how the society is organized, how the economy is running. They are fed up with corruption, which is everywhere, which is a daily reality. I myself have to face it also quite often, but I have a privilege that I'm a citizen of this country and I have different means to defend myself. So they are annoyed, and they were annoyed back, as I said, in November 2013. Of course, young Europeans are so fed up. They are fed up with unemployment, with the lack of job opportunities for the youth, especially in southern countries. But this is another type of annoyance. Simply people here, the young people here, want to live like we live. And they would love to have these sorts of problems, to think about the better job, to think about job opportunities. Second thing, which is different, is that young Ukrainians are determined. They are determined to change this way of life. They are determined to change the system, and they are determined to do their best to get rid of it. And earlier, until Maidan, many of young people were solving these sort of personal dilemmas through migration. That's why you have so many young Ukrainians living abroad, because that was the sort of escape from this system, from this sort of post-Soviet corrupted oligarchic society. Now, thanks God, most of the young Ukrainians prefer to stay at home. This is a positive thing. And when you see this level of determination, it's something which is really striking. I remember that back in 2013, it was September, we were doing a tour to the northeast part of Ukraine, to Sumy region and to Kharkiv region, and we were in small cities next to the Russian border. And those were the days when we were really trying to do our best to advocate for that signature of the association agreement. We were explaining it to young Ukrainians, to the public, to the press, the benefits of that agreement, because you might remember in those days, Russian Federation has already started to impose the first trade sanctions on Ukraine, and it especially hit those regions next to the border, because there is, for example, a chocolate factory close to Sumy, which was somehow also deprived to export chocolate products to Russia. And I was really shocked when we had a talk in the school with secondary school students who were 12, 13, and it was just 2 months before Maidan, and it was already some sort of a signal. And they said that they are so upset, so fed up to have a life, future life as their parents. And they were 12, 13 years kids, and we asked them, what do you mean you don't want to live like your parents? They said, we don't want to see our parents who have really good education, that they don't have such a normal job, that the people who are here in the power, there are people without any education, with a criminal background, and so on and so forth. And my parents have to simply, bribe these people in order to get what, they deserve. And we don't want to live like that. And we are determined to change it. 12, 13 years kids. So this is the second feature. Third feature is that the young Ukrainians are patriotic. And here, please, make a distinction between being nationalistic and patriotic. And at the same time, they are patriotic in a different way than most of the young Europeans are. They are not just waving the flags at the football games or at hockey games, but they are waving their national flags and European flags also during demonstrations that are aimed to change their mind. And when I say patriotic, I don't mean that there is something ethnical here, right? It's not so much related to ethnic, let's say, background, because probably you might have heard that the first people who were shot at Maidan, guess what sort of ethnic origin they had? They were Armenian, Belarusian. The first soldier who was shot down in Simferopol was German. He was of German origin from southern Ukraine. So what we have seen over these, let's say, 2 years is that young people, regardless their ethnic origin, be that Russian, Polish, Jewish, Armenian, they all are now feeling proud citizens of Ukraine. And when you compare the public opinion polls from recent, let's say, weeks, you see the highest possible identification of Ukrainians in general with being citizens of Ukraine. This is also a tremendous change. And now, like, look back in our countries, have you seen, I don't know, yes, you've seen national flags at the trade unions, demonstrations for better salaries against the TTIP, and so on and so forth. But is it like a real sort of a patriotism, just to go with national flags to these demonstrations? Fourth point, young Ukrainians are ready to be engaged and to really fight. When I mean fighting, I don't mean armed, let's say, military part. But this is also what I also already mentioned before, is that many young Ukrainians, students, really went as volunteers to fight, to learn the combat arts, to get arms in their hands and to defend not only their country, but I would say like all of us together. Every day I'm passing by this university, and every day I see students who enter the university in military uniforms. And I also know, as I said, many young Ukrainian men, students who went and who are now serving in the East. But it's also about females. Many young Ukrainian ladies and women became very active as volunteers, organizing collections, charity actions for IDPs, for military. They are active in the so-called, how's it called, not at the first fight lines, but back at home. What is also quite important and interesting is that many young Ukrainian people became engaged politically. This parliament has a huge number of young people who have entered the politics only recently. The good thing is that there is no back, let's say, past. They are not compromised by different, deals, being part of different schemes. So they are entering the system. Also, the number of young Western-educated Ukrainians that are now working on reforms is also extremely high. And again, they are determined and also annoyed with the previous system, and they are trying to change it. And here I have to say that also ECHA is extremely successful in that, because many of the alumni or former ECHA members are also now in the parliament. Some of them are advisors to different ministers, and they are doing these things on a political level. And when you talk to them, they would tell you that they would have never thought that one day they would be engaged in politics, because for them, politics was something extremely dirty, extremely brutal, and now they are part of it. Well, if I should give my personal assessment of their success, I would say they still have a lot of things to do and lots of things to learn. Some of the system that they are sort of finding is extremely powerful, is extremely rooted in this country, and is extremely resistant. And one thing why Russia started this aggression against this country is because in Russia they have exactly the same system that Ukrainians are trying to fight. And if Ukrainians succeed, then, as I said, Russian citizens, those from the middle class, would request the same sort of lifestyle. And if Ukraine is really free and ready to implement all those reforms that are partly prescribed by the same association agreement that I already mentioned, then we will see a new economic miracle in Europe. Ukraine will start to skyrocket their economic development, and it would improve the lives of people here. And this is exactly the danger that Mr. Putin doesn't want to see at the border of his Russian Federation. A successful post-Soviet Slavic brotherhood nation that is living according to different values, which is having a good success in these reforms. And the last thing, the fifth thing that is different in Europe and here is that young people here are really ready to sacrifice themselves. This is something that, that makes me always emotional, because this is something that it's something that you have to live through, right? I also have had a couple of friends who died here in Maidan and also in the East. And they have families, you know, and now these guys are, the kids are living without fathers, without some, without brothers, you know, it's like something that Europe has not experienced for quite a long time. And this is a problem that we do not appreciate in Europe. I mean, that our grandfathers, right, had to fight, or some fathers of us, those who come from Yugoslavia, had to go through the same things. So this is something that makes a huge difference between Europe and Ukraine. And, but this all leads to one, I would say, again, positive result, if I may say so. All these sacrifices and victims are not going to go in vain. What we see here is the incredible nation-building process. We are seeing a sort of a phoenix that is coming from the ash, and this phoenix is called Ukrainian nation, political nation. And that's something that, you know, we in Europe experienced a long time ago, nation-building process in our countries, back to the beginning of 20th century. So this is something that is happening on our eyes, and this is something where you have to have patriots. And as I said, patriotism doesn't equal nationalism, but even sometimes nationalism as a sort of constructive and a positive and constructive energy. So our countries were based on this very similar sort of processes. So think about these things when you are here, and think about those differences. I'm pretty sure that you would come up with more differences that you would notice. And yeah, as I said before, I'll pass these messages to your compatriots.
Thank you, David, a lot for, am I pronouncing it right? It's David or David? David. Thank you a lot, David, for your remarks. I'm pretty much sure and confident also that most of our participants have already made a note, as I was doing it there, and of course during all the Q&A part, I am pretty much sure you're going to get many points there. So we are going through our program there, and I'm very glad to give the floor to Mr. Vasil Filipchuk, as I said already, chairman of the board of International Center for Policy Studies. Mr. Filipchuk, the floor is yours, so please.
Thank you, Chairman. Hi to everyone. Bless you. I'm extremely happy to be with like-minded people, because my whole life started as a young leader in my mother town, Chernivtsi, in Western Ukraine. Actually, why I became one like you, it's a very entertaining story. It was still Soviet Union, 1989, and I had a friend, and my friend was a poet. He was really like Pushkin in his young age, beautiful, smart, handsome, and when he started to cite his poems, all the girls loved him, and whoever was next to him was like also with his glory. And it was still Soviet Union, but fighting for independent Ukraine started. And once together with him, we went for a meeting, very small meeting in park, like park in front of Red building of Kyiv University. There were about 20 people, and my friend was so emotional that he said me, I want to read my poem about glory of independent Ukraine. I said, listen, just let's listen to older people, they are smarter than us. I said, no, I want to share with them my feelings, my emotions. He started to read this poem, and in 2 minutes, some group of police came in and arrested him and put to prison. Actually, he was sentenced for 15 days in cell. So when you are 40, and if your friend is in prison, what you do, you look for a lawyer. If you are 18, what you do, you look for a stone or some way to help him. At that time, we still were afraid of violence, so I didn't look for a stone, but we organized a strike in my university. It was Chernivtsi University. In first day it was 200 people, second day it was 2,000 people, and the third day the whole university, people like you, went to streets and the whole city was paralyzed. So that's why I became a young movement leader in my own town, and actually David mentioned here Maidan. The biggest event in my own life as young leader was Maidan in Kiev in 1990. Very few remember about this Maidan, but it was really the Maidan which youth organized despite of objections of older politicians, and it was really the beginning of independent Ukraine. And it's exactly, I think, 24 years and 12 days. We started on 2nd of October 1990 here in Kiev, and it was one of halls where we slept in night, because in October in Kiev, especially on Maidan, it's cold. So very warm memories about this building as well. So it's how I became young leader, and when I was told that I have a chance to speak to European young leaders, I couldn't but accept with great pleasure and honor this chance. And remembering what irritated me when I was in your shoes and what I liked, I said I should not really share with them too much about my history, my past. You don't care about past if you are 18 or 20 or 25, you care about the future. So the really thing which I consider is important for all of you, especially if you come to Ukraine, is to talk about the conflict in my country, which is underway now. And to talk in Ukraine about something different is really like yesterday on football game between Ukraine and Spain, to talk about kitchen or fashion. If you are in football, you can talk about football. If you are in the country which is in the state of war, even if it's not declared as a state of war, but it's really in the state of war, you can talk about the war. And what I'm going to say is just to share with you my thoughts about 3 points. First is why it's important for all of you, whether you are Ukrainian or not, or European. What are reasons of this conflict, and what to do to settle this conflict? 3 simple questions to which there are rather simple answers. However, it seems that to accept this simple answer sometimes is very, very difficult and demands really thought-breaking exercise. So why this conflict in Ukraine is important, not just Ukrainians, obviously it's important for everyone of us because it's about future of our country. Every second Ukrainian has either a relative or friend or himself participated at this event on the east of Ukraine, or participated in volunteer organizations. Basically, you could hardly find anyone, either in Kyiv or in villages around the country, who has been untouched by this war. So for Ukrainians, it's obviously important, but why it's important for all of you, either you are British or German or French or Polish. The reason why it's important because what happened in Ukraine is not just bilateral Ukrainian-Russian conflict. The whole system of international law, the whole world, which has been created at the time when you were born, basically this world collapsed. Whether you like it or not, but post-Cold War world, which was created after collapse of Soviet Union in 1991, and which had some features. Those of you who study science or international relations know very well about it. We have UN with exclusive mandate for using force in international affairs. We have NATO, which is protecting its member states in Europe, and which was considered as a really basis for stability in Europe. We have EU, which is an embodiment of prosperity and stability in Europe. This is, even if you are still there, the world in which you are is not anymore the same. The basic rule of international affairs, that you cannot use violence in international affairs, has been broken. Moreover, it was broken not just against a country, it was broken against a country which deliberately, which freely given up its nuclear weapons and received guarantees for its security. It was broken not just by one of those 5 countries which gave Ukraine these security assurances, it was not protected by others who gave Ukraine security assurances and guarantees that in case if territorial integrity of this country will be violated, they will help to defend this country. It was not happened. Russians attacked Ukraine, Americans, French, UK, not to talk about China. They didn't really provide Ukraine with effective, efficient assistance. Still Crimea is occupied, even if now we have no hot phase of war in the east of Ukraine. Current ceasefire is not a peace. It can be violated at any moment. So we all should feel unsafe and unsecure, because if Ukraine was not protected, then what argument you can use, for example, talking to Iran, don't take nuclear weapons, because international law will defend you. If international law did not defend Ukraine, how others can trust international law? What is guarantees which even you have in the case of NATO? Just imagine in one of NATO countries, and it's easy to define some NATO countries where you could imagine this scenario. Some people would declare, I don't know, Riga People's Republic, whatever. And then the logic would be the same as it happened in eastern Ukraine. Is it internal conflict? Is it a conflict between this country and Russia or any other country? What is it? How you would identify? In current world, there are so many ways to invent a conflict or to hit up existing divergences that no country can be safe. It means that if we will not find out an effective settlement of the conflict which is now on the east of Ukraine and around Crimea, this world will not last long. It will not provide any of us whatever is passport which we have in our pockets with safe life, not to talk even about our kids. We must find sustainable settlement of current crisis for the sake of peace and stability of each of our countries. If we will fail to do it, consequences will not be just for Ukraine or neighboring countries. It will be global. We now see what is happening in Syria, and we should not be misled that it's just because of Syria, as we could be misled that what happened in Ukraine is just because of Ukraine. No. Everything which is happening in Syria is directly linked with the same part of the story. There is a country which was unhappy with how post-Cold War was constructed. There is a country which can blame others that they violated international law. And when you talk to Russians, they openly say that why you think that if Americans can bomb Iraq without permission of the UN Security Council, why we can't bomb Ukraine or Syria or whoever? Moreover, in Syria there is an invitation of legal government of this country. So they just refer to Americans who also violated. We can discuss which was less or more, but it doesn't change the situation. Russians received pretext, Russians received explanations, which many countries in the world, by the way, accept. That if one country can violate rules, if David can walk on a red light, why I cannot? Just because he is EU citizen, I am Ukrainian, doesn't matter. If he can, I can do the same. So either we have to review the rules and to establish instruments which would force everyone to follow these rules, or we have to accept that there is dark age. And whether if you are stronger, you can do whatever you want. If you are weaker, you have to face quite unhappy future. And if you happen to be on crossroad of geopolitical interests, as it happened in the case of Syria, you see burned land, terrible human disaster. I don't know what was for you the most striking photo which you witnessed, which you watched over the last year. I think after Maidan, photos from Maidan, after photos from Donetsk airport, I think the next striking photo which really forces us to rethink who we are, where we are, and what we have to do is photo of this poor Syrian guy, 3 years old boy who happened to thing in Mediterranean, trying his family to cross the sea from Turkey to Greece. It is in our time, it is people who are walking on the streets in neighboring country. And if we will not review the whole set of rules and introduce efficient rules of behavior in the international arena, one day it can come to each of us. Even if now we think that the world around us is safe and secure. If you, those of you who study history know how deceptive can be peace and stability around us. How people in Paris in 1938 or even in 1940 were drinking coffee and joking boys with girls on streets of Paris some days before Nazi army entered the city. We can remember up to old Roman history how people could not believe that the world, which is convenient for them, can just collapse in days if they try to escape from facing difficult challenge. That the world must be based not on right of force but on rules. So we have all to accept that if we will not force our government to face this challenge and to introduce rules which everyone will be following, then our future of each of us is unsafe. What are reasons of conflict in Ukraine now? Is it really Ukrainian-Russian conflict? Russians are saying it's Ukrainian internal conflict. Is it really Ukrainian internal conflict? Whatever answer you will be given, it is a simple answer. Yes, it's just Ukrainian internal conflict as Russians claim. Yes, it's Ukrainian-Russian conflict. It's simplification. And if I may give you all advice of what I learned from the time when I was a young leader in my mother tongue, is just be afraid of simple answers. Simple answers normally hide part of the truth. And if you build your house only on part of solid ground, it will also collapse. The conflict which you have in Ukraine is very complicated and it has different dimensions. If you study conflictology, you can easily define at least 3 different levels of conflict which led to what we face now in Ukraine. Yes, of course, it's Ukrainian internal conflict. Whoever say it's not true, he or she is lying. Yes, it's true. This country is very fragile. This country is very heterogeneous. This country failed to make reforms, and it was rightly said about corruption, about lack of personal prospects for each Ukrainian living in villages around this country. Basically, what we built up in this country since independence is what is well known in political science as extractive closed public institutions. When there is a pyramid of institutions where at the end you have resources of the whole society and on the top you have political leadership. And everything is getting up only to the top of pyramid. And only those who are on the top of pyramid may benefit from power, money, possibilities, whatever. We have in this country a group of people, some 100, not more, who live not just luxury lifestyle. British or German billionaires who dream to have such kind of lifestyle. The most expensive apartment in London was bought by a Ukrainian oligarch. And he is the alone Ukrainian oligarch who bought the most expensive apartment in London. I think at least I know 3 of Ukrainians who bought apartments in London priced more than 100 million euro per this apartment. And you are talking about the country where average GDP per capita used to be $4,500. Now it's $1,700 per capita, with a very clear declining tendency. So in this country, which has this extractive institutions, those who came to power always were declaring, we will make reforms, we will change these institutions, we will open them for average people. But when they were coming to power, the same happened as with their predecessors. They were benefiting, but not changing these institutions. So this all led us to a situation when the country is really presenting its own citizens very little prospects. And it was one of real reasons why people were ready for first Maidan, for second Maidan, Orange Maidan in 2004, for Maidan in 2013-14, and which is also a reason why people still now feel very unhappy with the decision of the country. Because they don't really see that this pyramid is open, and whoever is smart, bold, young leaders is those who think beyond their personal agenda and think about their countries. So young leaders is those who are the first who will be able to use social lifts to get on the top of these institutions to make something good for their country. And in Ukraine, these social lifts are closed because those who are on the top, they're just so cynical that they even take their children, their sons to parliament. We have closed list of electoral system. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are known. All the rest, people when they vote, they don't know who are next in the list. And people take their kids to the parliament, and they think it's right, not even considering how others perceive this. So this country really had serious problems, but they are not unique. If you look at the globe, it's only golden billion countries of Western Europe, Northern America, and maybe some more who have open, inclusive public institutions. And majority of countries in the world, they live with this style of institutions. In some cases they are successful to change, in some not, but it never led to such kind of wars as we had in Ukraine. This was one of the reasons, this internal weakness of Ukraine, why Russia decided to show the West what they wanted to show by attacking Ukraine. They did attack Poland because Poland made reforms. Poland was a homogeneous country with open institutions, with citizens who would, from the very first day, who would know how to react. And if you remember when Crimea started, we all just started to look at each other and think what to do, because the country was not prepared to war. The country was not trained to think about itself as a country for which, if there is a war, we have to die. And it's only because we had a huge wave of patriotism, of desire of people to defend their country, which allowed us in 3 months to rebuild our defense, to rebuild our army, and now, whether you like it or not, but Ukrainian army is ready and is able to fight and defend this country. But it's exactly because of lack of reforms, because of lack of responsible political elite, that Ukraine was the weakest. And it's really the problem. But is it international problem? No. Is it the reason of the war? No. The real reason of the war is not even Ukraine-Russian contradictions and bilateral problems. Yes, we have plenty of problems between Ukraine and Russia. And it's the easiest way to blame Russians that they are responsible for everything, and they are. It's true. But also we as Ukrainians, we never actually thought, what is the future of our relations with Russia? We always, at least Ukrainian political elite, those like myself, asking in your age what I have to do with my country and for my country, how I see my country. My answer to myself was very simple. It's how it happens that when I joined Foreign Ministry of Ukraine, I wrote Strategy of Ukraine's European Integration. I was watching how Poland successfully made transformation. The country which was poorer than Ukraine in 1990 suddenly became much richer and much more successful. And looking for answers how Poles did it, I just said we have to copy them. If they succeeded with their European integration, we have to do the same. And I never asked myself, okay, what we have to do with Russia? Because I thought if Russians want to be a successful country, they have just to follow the same example as Poles did and as we Ukrainians want to do. And it happened that Russia is so different that they still willing to be with Europe, they still are European nation. In their culture, in their psychology, even if different European, they are still not nation, not Asian nation. We never thought what to do with Russia and what would happen in case if integration full responsibility, punished, reparations, and so on and so forth. This led to revanchism, to Nazi rise in Germany, which led to Second World War. And how Second World War was ended up. In reality, German-French relations were defined not by treaty in Potsdam or Yalta. It was defined by European Community for Coal and Steel. So instead of forcing your enemy to accept your own rules and keeping potential for another conflict down, what happened, Germany and France introduced the concept of reconciliation through integration. They created one single market in one area, in other areas they opened border, and now war between Germany and France is just unthinkable. It would be so unnatural that no one, whatever happens, no one would even imagine to think about it. So if we really want to have a peace with Russia, we have to think about the place of Russia in Europe. Whether it would be now, when we have Putin, who is aggressive, who is showing others how strong is Russia, and by beating Ukraine, attacking Syria, is sending message to West, to EU and to Americans. Now you see, I am strong back, talk to me. Whether we can talk to him and agree about deals of Russia reintegration to Europe, or it happened after Putin, I have no answer. But sometimes your vision of peace can already bring this peace closer to you. So what we all have to think, what we all have to do, is to think among ourselves, talk to our politicians, how we see future, not just our countries, but also Russia as a part of Europe. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for all of us to return peace to Ukraine and to whole of Europe.
Thank you a lot. It was indeed very in-depth analysis, and in my personal belief too, as a person who is mostly mastering the international security, you touched upon all the questions there, which are very relevant to the topic, as whenever we talk about safeguarding values that we have in Ukraine in general and throughout the Eastern Partnership countries, it's for the most important also to think about the security in more global context, not only European but also worldwide there. And as a result, I just come across one of the comments that one of my professors at Harvard Kennedy School, Joseph Nye, a very well-known American expert, made once. Once he suggested me, like, we were having a discussion about the same topics as we're now elaborating on. And Professor Nye made a very nice comment there that when one of my friends asked maybe Ukrainians really want the war, or the Russians really want the war, he simply replied the prophetic way there. Never ask for a war, as it will come to you with confidence and darkness. Maybe I would just go on now there to our next speaker, Mr. Dmitry Gulaev, the President of Public Organization Ukrainian Students Union, Students Abroad. Dmitry will have an interpretation, so I'm glad to give you the floor to you there. Thank you.
Я буду спілкуватися з вами на українській мові.
I'll speak with you in Ukrainian language.
Це не по протоколу.
It is not according to the rules.
Мені надзвичайно щиро приємно сьогодні виступати перед вами, шановні студенти із країн Європейського Союзу.
It is a real pleasure to have a speech here behind you, dear guests from European Union and Western countries.
Також я вітаю щиро спікерів, поважних гостей і маю честь сьогодні виступати з вами.
And I also congratulate the speakers, honorable speakers, and it is really a real pleasure for me to speak with you together.
Я б хотів би сьогодні розповісти про досить специфічну роботу нашого Союзу.
Today I would like to tell you some words about some specific activities of our union,
яка якраз має два шляхи розвитку.
which has two steps towards our development.
Це імідж в Україні
It is the image in Ukraine
і за кордоном.
and abroad.
Отже,
So,
мета і завдання нашого союзу
the aim of our union is
це допомога іноземним студентам в Україні
assistance for foreign students in Ukraine
і українцям, які навчаються за кордоном.
and Ukrainians who study abroad.
Ми побачили два досить специфічних напрямки роботи,
We saw two such specific goals of our work,
які втілюємо в життя.
which we would like to implement in our life.
Ми допомагаємо українським студентам, які навчаються в країнах Європейського Союзу.
We help our students from Ukraine who study in the countries of the EU.
А в країнах Європейського Союзу українських студентів навчається 58 тисяч.
There are 58,000 of students from Ukraine who study in the EU.
Саме найбільше українців навчаються в Польщі,
Among them, there are a lot of students from Ukraine and Poland.
на сьогоднішній день налічує 20 тисяч студентів, це офіційно.
20,000 of students is official data.
Наступна йде Німеччина
Next goes Germany
і Росія
and Russian Federation.
9 тисяч.
9,000 students.
На сьогоднішній день, спілкуючись із навіть представниками Російської Федерації, немає ніяких утисків стосовно до українських студентів.
Today, even speaking with Russian representatives, we do not see any problems towards attitude towards Ukrainian students in Russia.
Але наші українці навчаються і в країнах арабського світу, і Африки.
But Ukrainian students also study in Arabic countries and in Africa.
Ми допомагаємо українським студентам за кордоном в напрямку адаптації.
We help our students abroad in the direction of adaptation.
Яким чином?
In what way we help them?
Ми створюємо асоціації українських студентів в країнах Європейського Союзу.
We create associations of Ukrainian students abroad.
Ми побачили, зрозуміли, що українські студенти не мають досвіду в роботі в громадських організаціях.
We understood that Ukrainian students do not have any experience in the work of NGOs, students.
Тобто вони отримують досвід, вони отримують знання і, можливо, практичний досвід.
So they receive knowledge and practical experience.
Але є завжди в будь-якому суспільстві є 2% людей,
But in any society there are 2% of people
які помимо незалежності свого навчання, вони ще хочуть розвиватися.
who, regardless from their study, want to develop themselves.
Вони відчувають собі внутрі свої лідерські якості.
They feel that they have leadership activities and wants.
Але не завжди можуть зорієнтуватися, куди і де їм втілити свої вміння і навички і дати їм розвиватися.
But not every time they see the way they should go and in which direction they shall develop their habits and activities.
Для цього і ми створюємо асоціації.
And for that purpose we create associations,
створюємо платформу,
create platforms,
в якій саме українські студенти мають можливість розвиватися.
in which Ukrainian students have the opportunity to develop themselves.
Тобто, створюючи асоціації, внутрі асоціації створюється секретаріат.
Within the association, the secretariat is created.
Тобто класична структура роботи любих міжнародних організацій.
I mean the classical structure of work of an international organization.
І саме це дає можливість українським студентам, які представляють дозволяють асоціації в країнах Європейського Союзу долучитись до роботи з міжнародними молодіжними організаціями і національними молодіжними організаціями.
And that gives the opportunity for Ukrainian students abroad to join the NGOs of that country where stay national, both national, governmental and non-governmental.
Тобто ми виконуємо основну нашу одну із функцій і завдань нашого Союзу по роботі з українськими студентами в країнах Європейського Союзу.
So we conduct our functions within the countries of the European Union.
Ці 2%, от скільки спілкуєшся з нашими українськими студентами,
Those 2% speaking with our Ukrainian students,
вони дуже болівають за Україну.
They have strong feelings towards their motherhood Ukraine.
Вони навіть зараз хочуть робити якісь зміни на своєму, от нехай невеличкому рівні.
They even now want to make some changes in their local level.
І для цього ми практично нещодавно зустрілися з Міністерством інформаційної політики.
And for this purpose, some days ago, we have met with the representatives of the Ministry of Information of Ukraine.
І в країнах Європейського Союзу наші українці стають волонтерами.
And in the countries of the European Union, our students become volunteers.
І від Міністерства інформаційної політики
from representing that Ministry of Information of Ukraine,
яким буде насилатися інформація про Україну,
who will receive the information about Ukraine,
і їхнє завдання розповсюджувати по тим локальним мережам, де у них буде можливість.
And they have to distribute the information about it at any destination they have.
А для цього ми і знайомимо з національними молодіжними організаціями, як молодіжними організаціями, так і національними студентськими організаціями.
And for this aim, we get them acquainted with those organizations in those countries.
І ми віримо, що, ну дай Боже, не 2%, можливо більше цих студентів, які ми даємо можливість втілити свої вміння і навички в життя.
And we believe that not only 2% of the students for whom we give the opportunity to make their habits, to implement their habits in life.
І вони все ж таки поїдуть в Україну.
And finally they will come to Ukraine.
Із зовсім іншим світоглядом.
With another way of life or attitude toward life.
І напрацьованими вже напрацьовані і сформовані практичні лідери. Це сформовані лідери за європейським вже виміром.
Being formated leaders as well, yes.
І ми віримо, дай Боже, поступово, і знаєте, капля розбиває камінь,
Yes. And we hope that one day this will happen and we achieve our goals.
Можливо, це нехай від нашої організації буде невеличка капля.
Of course, it is not very huge work of our organization, but still.
Але коли багато капель,
when our work is very hard.
Ну і ми наливаємо свою воду, так?
Yes, and we work toward this, go this way.
Колись все цей, якби бруд, або вся та минула пострадянська процедура, вона буде все ж таки відходити.
And we hope that one day that post-Soviet dirty system will come to the end.
Є світова мудрість.
It is worldwide wisdom.
І это пройдет.
And this will come to the end.
Нам немає шляху, як іти ще нижче в Україні.
We not have any route to come slower.
І нам є можливість тільки йти вперед.
We have to move.
І можливо, от наш невеличкий невеличкий формат все ж таки сприятиме розвитку України і шляху її до європейських цінностей.
Maybe our small format will lead to these European themes.
Як конкретно ми допомагаємо, що ми конкретно робимо тепер?
What do we do and how do we help?
Ми робимо для українських студентів ознайомчу практику в країнах Європейського Союзу.
We provide practice for Ukrainian students in the countries of the European.
Її організовують самі ж українці,
It is organized by Ukrainians themselves,
які представляють асоціацію.
who represent the association.
Тобто студенти самі створюють бази для ознайомчої практики.
So the students themselves create basis for this practice.
І українці в Польщі мають можливість пройти знайомчу практику в Німеччині.
And for example, Ukrainians in Poland have the opportunity to have practice in Germany.
Українці в Португалії мають можливість пройти знайомчу практику в Іспанії.
Ukrainians in Portugal have the opportunity to have this practice in Spain.
Тобто і плюс ми намагаємося проводити проекти.
And moreover, we would like to provide our projects.
Ми перший проект провели рік тому, Європейський студентський форум.
The first project was held last year, the first European Youth Forum.
Європейська школа молодіжного бізнесу та культурних і політичних відносин.
The European School of Business and Cultural and Political Relations.
Старт цього форуму розпочався з України.
The very beginning of this forum was held in our country.
Випускники цього форуму в лютому місяці 2015 року мали можливість пройти ознайомчу практику в європейських установах.
The participants of that forum had the opportunity to practice in the European institutions.
Студенти познайомилися з роботою парламентської асамблеї Ради Європи.
They participated in the European Parliamentary Association.
Європейський парламент,
European Parliament,
Страсбург, Брюссель,
Strasbourg, Brussels,
Європейська комісія,
European Commission,
Європейський суд з прав людини,
European Court of Human Rights.
Організували цю ознайомчу практику українці у Франції.
And that practice was organized by the Ukrainians in France.
Тобто розвивається союз самими студентами.
So we see that our union is developed by the work of our students.
Але ми все ж таки співпрацюємо і з посольствами України, які
But also we cooperate with embassies which are presented in the European countries.
Це я вам розповів один напрямок і буквально декілька хвилин іще один напрямок.
So that was the first direction and some minutes for your attention for the second direction.
Як ми допомагаємо іноземним студентам в Україні?
So how do we help foreign students in Ukraine?
Іноземних студентів в Україні навчається 63 тисячі.
63,000 of foreign students who study in Ukraine.
Дуже багато наших іноземних студентів стикаються з бюрократією.
But we see that these students are facing bureaucratism in our.
Це гуртожиток, це деканати, це пограничники, це митники, це все, що тільки можливо, з чим може зв'язатися іноземні студенти.
So they are places where they live. They are custom. We see that at custom service and more places in Ukraine.
Іноземний студент, перебуваючи в Україні мінімум 4-5 років,
the foreign students who are in Ukraine at least for 5 years.
В нього створюється певне враження про Україну.
These students receive they create some image of Ukraine for their home.
Як позитивне, так і
And this image can be both positive and negative.
Як ми вирішуємо все ж таки цю проблематику?
So how do we settle this problem?
Ми зробили і робимо координаторів по кожній країні.
We provide coordinators according to each country.
На сьогоднішній день ми співпрацюємо з координаторами із 78 країн.
Today we collaborate with coordinators from 88 countries.
Більша кількість цих студентів, координаторів, ми з ними співпрацюємо онлайн.
We cooperate online with most of their coordinators.
Більшість їх знаходиться не в Києві.
Since most of them are not in Kyiv.
Завдання координатора.
Our capacity is the capacity of coordinators.
Допомога іноземним, допомога студентам своїх країн.
Is to help the students from their countries.
У нас є, я б сказав, такі координатори, яких телефон кожен день на дзвінку і мінімум 30-50 дзвінків.
So we have such coordinators who receive so much telephone calls, at least 30 or 35 calls every day.
Завдяки активній роботі більшості координаторів,
thanks to the work of most of coordinators,
ми бачимо надзвичайно важливі кричущі проблеми, з якими вони стикаються.
We see very important problems that they are facing.
Ми намагаємося випрацьовувати, вирішувати проблеми іноземних студентів, не тим іти до вузу і казати, що ви робите отак, не так, отак, отак, отак. Ми випрацьовуємо шляхи подолання, шляхи вирішення тих чи інших проблем.
We settle these problems not by going to each university and saying you should do this way or this way, but we are trying to create our own ways and present them.
І це подобається нашій бюрократії.
And this was really liked by our bureaucracy in Ukraine.
Тобто креатив все ж таки нам допомагає.
So our creativeness helps us.
Дуже важко перевчити людей, які вже 10, 20, 30 років працюють на одному і тому ж місці.
Since it is very hard to learn the people who worked on their position for more than 10 years another way.
Також ми займаємося адаптацією іноземних студентів в Україні.
Also we assist our foreign students concerning their adaptation in Ukraine.
Через проведення різних міжнародних заходів.
By holding a lot of international events.
Де залучені іноземні студенти і українці, які навчаються в Україні.
In which Ukrainians who study in Ukraine and foreign students who study in Ukraine are participating.
І таким чином ми вирішуємо процес адаптації.
And in such a way we settle this problem of adaptation.
Іноземний студент, коли закінчує навчання в Україні,
a foreign student when he ends his study in Ukraine,
в нього все ж таки залишається більше емоцій позитивні.
He has more positive emotions.
Студенти, які приїжджають із країн Азії, Африканського регіону, Арабського регіону, які навчаються в Україні і Росії, це майбутні лідери в своїх країнах.
The students who come to Ukraine from Africa or Arabic world, they are future leaders in their countries.
Кожному з них хочеться приїхати через 10-15 років, бо все ж таки студентські роки вони є найкращі.
They want to come to Ukraine in 10 years or in some years after graduating the university, since their students' years are best years.
І можливо, коли ми зробимо асоціацію або зустріч цих іноземних студентів, які закінчили 5 років, 10, 30 років навчальних закладів в Україні,
And maybe when we will establish the association of dead students who studied in Ukraine in 5 or 10 years, in some years, we hope.
Це при зустрічі з ними ми можемо розраховувати і маємо можливість думати про те, що це потенційні інвестори в Україну.
We hope that they are potential investors in Ukraine.
Тобто ми виконуємо практично другу функцію. Це іще одна невеличка капля.
So we conduct another function.
Ну це все ж таки максималізм, ми так вважаємо.
But we consider this as our maximalism.
Але можливо ми все ж таки цього досягнемо.
But we hope that one day we will achieve it.
У нас дуже багато молодіжних громадських організацій в Україні.
We have a lot of student NGOs in Ukraine.
Вони проходять стадію розвитку.
They are at their developing period now.
І прийде час, і я думаю, всі ці пазли
And we hope that the time will come and all these puzzles,
де українці приїдуть з країн Європейського Союзу,
when Ukrainians will come from the EU countries,
маючи унікальний авторитет в своїй країні, де вони досягли лідерських якостей,
having unique respect in those countries where they achieve their leadership success, so to say.
Будучи волонтерами від Міністерства інформаційної політики в тій країні, де вони навчалися.
Being volunteers from the Ministry of Information in that country where they studied.
Я думаю, що згодом це дасть надзвичайно унікальний результат.
I hope that one day it will result in very, very nice results.
Це і є наш практичний невеличкий результат, роль громадських організацій в формуванні громадського суспільства.
And I think it is our result in the formating what is called formation of leadership organization.
І де українці, маючи європейський досвід, дай Боже приїхати в Україну,
And when Ukrainians having the European experience will come to Ukraine.
І на основі європейських, синтез європейських напрямків діяльності українських дасть величезний розвиток України.
And on the basis both Ukrainian and European experiences will give rise for Ukraine.
Тому у нас, так як я і казав, що у нас немає можливості йти назад.
As I have already said, we do not have any opportunity to move away.
У нас є можливість йти тільки вперед.
We have to move only on those directions again and again.
І завдяки вашій підтримці, і ми надзвичайно щиро вдячні, що ви сьогодні здесь.
And by your support, and we are very happy that you are here now.
І надзвичайно щиро вдячні IG за організацію такого унікального форуму.
And we would like to express our thanks to the IJ,
де ми маємо можливість обмінятися думками,
where we have the opportunity to express our thoughts and exchange them.
І як ми можемо допомогти Україні.
And how can we help Ukraine?
Thank you a lot for presenting your goals there, and particularly the numbers that you presented. It was really very exciting to hear. Like personally, I discovered now, I'm trying to be honest with you, that we have 63,000 foreign students studying in Ukraine. An amazing number, and thanks a lot for a good job here to make their stay here more safer and better. As far as all the panelists have already presented their remarks there, and we have sharply 20 minutes left to the break there, what I would suggest first of all to my fellow colleagues sitting down next to me here on both sides there, maybe we can skip the part when we are going to ask questions to each other there, and we may just directly give the floor to our participants, thus allowing them also to address you the questions they are probably prepared or have there indicated while we're making the remarks there. So I would just like to open the floor for the questions from the audience. Okay. Yes, please.
Hello everyone, I have a question to Mr. Filipchuk. We already know that Ukrainians are determined to change, but they want to see a change now. And I would argue that in order to change really happen, in order to reforms appear to be successful, we have to see mentality change. And this is a process. Revolution triggers this mentality change. So from that perspective, revolution of dignity was something positive because it triggered nation-building process, formation of civil society. But my basic question is, are Ukrainians aware that this is the process, that they will have to wait for results of their hard daily work from some years now? Will they be patient enough if they are so determined to change things right away as they are? So I come from Poland, and we also came through huge mentality change. And that's why I see an issue here in this transition process of Ukraine. Thank you.
Would I just mind here, I would like thank you all first of all for your question here. For the next persons who are going to make the questions, please first of all identify yourself, thus allowing you to know from where you come and with your name. Of course I know where you come from, but not your name, but still. Okay, and let's really try to keep it like in a 1 minute in a question and 1 minute in a reply, just like allowing much more people to be involved in discussion. Thank you.
Some questions or oh, thank you. And what is your name, by the way?
Marta Bluk, I come from Arja Warszawa.
Thank you, Marta. It's a very difficult point. What is first? Mentality or rules? I strongly believe that first are rules. You cannot really take a measurement of mentality. Mentality is quite a relative notion, and mentality in eastern Ukraine is different from mentality in north or south of Ukraine, and in west Ukraine, mentality of people from my own city of Chernivtsi is very different from mentality of a person coming from Lviv, and so on. Mentality is secondary, sorry to say this. First, there are rules to which mentality is able to adapt. So the problem is that in this country there have not been clearly defined rules, or as we sometimes joke, strictness of Ukrainian rules is balanced by a lack of necessity to abide to these rules. You can violate them. There's no punishment, impunity, poor impunity. We have very good traffic rules, but no one cares. And if traffic police just stop, we just give €5, like it's a lot, and you just go further away. So first rules. If you adapt and apply rules, and if you ensure that rules are equal for everyone, it immediately triggers changes in mentality. If I know that I cannot get to my goal by following rules, I'm not bad. We all are not bad. We all are good. But we have some interests, we have some conflicts. Conflicts are human, and we have goals. I need to achieve my goal. I don't care about rules. And if I can achieve my goals by following rules, I will follow rules. And it will be my mentality. But if the only chance for me to achieve my goal, to build your business, to enroll to university, and to successfully finish university by changing rules, or ignoring them or violating. Sorry to say that it's human nature to think not about rules but about goals. If a student of Kyiv University knows that he cannot pass exam X otherwise by bribing his professor for 400 hryvnias, at the end of the day 95% of people will bribe. The only 5%, some of them are really smart, others are scandalous enough that the professor would be afraid of putting bad mark in order that it's cheaper to not to have trouble with this person. But 95% would ensure that they would have successful passage of exam without unnecessary headache. And it's not about students being bad, it's about rules being as they are, or rules being not respected. So the key challenge in this country is really not about mentality. If we have right rules and strong implication of these rules and strong punishment for any who violates, I guarantee you in 2 years you will have different rules. But I don't know what is your birthday, but you should remember in Poland difference of Poland between 1991 and 1995. 2 different countries. Despite people are the same. The mentality was switched because of different rules application.
Thank you. I think also David wants to reply, right?
You know, so far I could sign almost every sentence that you said, but let me disagree on that a little bit. Now, let me offer a sort of alternative point of view. Well, I think that mentality changes are more important than the rules, because Ukraine has many good rules, many good laws that were developed with, let's say, the technical assistance of the EU, but the problem is that these laws are not being properly implemented. Why? Because of the mentality. So this is a chicken egg problem. The point is we should also introduce these rules, and we often hear it should be the EU, the donors community, please just work on these and these issues. And recently we have issued a couple of statements of the EU, of our delegation, or also on behalf of our ambassador, that we simply wanted to see certain laws to be passed through the parliament, the laws that are fully in compliance with the acquis, with the EU recommendations. And we saw a huge resistance on some of those, because they tackle the private vested interest of those whom you describe as those 100 people. And here the mentality comes into let's say, game, and it's the mentality of those people who would constitute a critical mass. I rather believe in the other way process, that first you have to have a complete mentality change, and then these rules that are in place are properly implemented. They are sanctioned. There is a punishment for violating them. And for that, I believe it's very important to have a critical mass. And I think, according to, again, many public opinion polls, that critical mass in Ukraine is now being constructed, or has been already constructed. Especially if you compare the public opinion polls on European integration, and you look at the age categories, like breakdown by age, the picture is almost all the same around the country. There are not so many, let's say, discrepancies anymore among young people all over Ukraine. So again, it's as you said, it's a process. The good thing is that the process is ongoing, and I don't think there is such a force in this country that could derail this process. And also, when you have this pressure from below, these rules of the game, the laws, are going to be implemented at a certain moment. But that's what I wanted to say. Like, I believe in the other way process.
Well, we can discuss another 2 hours. I disagree. But
definitely. Just to allow the rest also to be engaged here, we are opening up another circle. Who is willing to make a question to yes, please? Just identify yourself and make your question.
Thank you. My name is Damian. I'm coming from Kiev, studying in Ostrog Academy. So let me tell you my point of view about mentality. I think both of you are right, because there is a critical mass of a new mentality, European, so to say, and there is a mentality of this bureaucratic machine. that is still strong. It is a kind of fight, and that's why if you change and take people from this critical mass and set them to this machine, so it will be the solution. And in this connection, actually, maybe it is a question to David. I think that it is very important to amplify projects, anti-corruption projects on this stage of Ukrainian building. That's why we have this war, why we had revolution 2 years ago, and now we have to work a little bit. So exactly, we need help from European Union and from America in this sphere, so anti-corruption, maybe some projects, international projects. And another question is maybe this first one for you, and Mr. Vasil, do you really think that you give that example that Germany and France, so they came to the conclusion after 2 world wars, but do you think it is really the same situation as we have with Russia now, because 2 dreadful wars took place, and after that Europeans, Germans and French, they understood that trade and economy should be first, and it is better to live this way than to have some such things like Nazis and such kind of things. But with whom to talk from Russia side now? Because to my mind, until they do not have, until we have this elite in Russia, so it is very difficult to talk to them. But of course, I think that this geopolitical role of Ukraine is, like a bridge between Europe and Russia. It is actually our role. But maybe we should wait first to build this wall, wait until they do something and change something, and then we talk to them.
If I would start, you basically touched the core of the problem. Was it possible to agree with Hitler in 1938 about creation of European coal and steel community? It's exactly the question. Or they had to live through Second World War. The answer is very bad for us, if it is that we have to live through the war with Russia. Because if it will be really fully fledged war which Germans and French lived through, I don't really want to see Kiev and the whole of Ukraine in ruins in order to prove Russians how mistaken they are. So what we really need to do is to do everything possible to avoid this scenario. That first war, Yarosh visit card on Kremlin Square, Ukrainian blue yellow flag. Well, it might look nice from Facebook page, but every death is huge tragedy. Every death. And we have already so many deaths that I don't really want to see more death. And what is really important, it's not really about Russia, it's about us. Us, I mean Ukrainians and Europeans. Because what Europeans want is not really to settle Ukraine's problem. They want to have not any headache. And they don't want to change their rules, not to help us. They want to be right, they want to be in the right position, they want to be in comfortable position, not to send their troops, not to really spend too much resources, money and so on, but not to have headache and say, well, we are right. It's about forcing Europeans to accept that we all, Ukrainians and EU member states, have to have one unified position to Russians, and to say that you have 2 options. Very good one, very bad one, stick and carrot, that we accept. Russians behave like emotionally unstable boy who was beaten in his 10, 12 years, and then suddenly he grew up and received some Kalashnikov, and he came back to the same backyard and said to others who insulted him, "Now I'm strong, I will show you." The worst thing with this guy is to start a reasonable, rational discussion. What is right, what is wrong? First, you need to calm down him. Say, yes, you are right. Let's discuss about substance. But if we Ukrainians do it, we are not really their enemy, their key target. Their target is West. So what we have to do is just to convince West that we don't have to pacify Russia by giving Ukraine as victim. We have to have a strong position together to say, Russians, you want to be part of Europe, fine. You have visa-free regime, you have free trade area, whatever you want, but you need to get out of Crimea, you need to respect Ukraine's independence. And if you don't do it, then punishment should be real, not symbolic as it is now, but real. No any political relations, no any trade in gas or oil, banking sanctions, full isolation. As long as this approach will not be... So the carrot should be sweet, really sweet. There is no carrot now. And stick should be really painful. And stick is not really painful. And the victim is then only Ukraine. And the way to achieve our goal might be really as it was between France and Germany. And I think that best what I personally, I think all of us who are not on the front line, the best what we can do is just to convince non-military approach which would allow us to defend our independence and to convince Russians that there is another alternative for them in the future, not to have Third World War. It's the only rationale, it's the only reason which defines the whole concept that we should Europeanize Russia, because alternative is war. I should believe, and I'm very grateful to your passion, interest, attention. I wish you all the best to your conference and to everyone of you personally. All the best.
Thank you a lot. Yeah, maybe we can just move forward. Now you got a question here.
Before I answer that question that you addressed to me, let me also add a little bit more on that issue of what should be done with Russia. We all have a problem, not Ukrainians, but we Europeans and Russians, and that's Russian propaganda, right? Because we are so exposed to that, especially those who live in the EU member states or in EU countries. They often do not know what is truth, what is lie, what is like virtual reality. And here I come to one common problem of the EU and Russia, which is called critical thinking. People somehow got, lazy enough to critically think what is being presented to them. So one of the ways is to support critical thinking in Russia. And here now we work on it with actively through social. The EU is working on that pretty actively through social networks, through internet, through online media. So there are certain ways how we can face or counterbalance this aggression. Then your question on anti-corruption project, we have lots of them in Ukraine, lots of them. The EU is, for example, funding the new tests for new prosecutors in regions. We have our observers in these tests, so they go transparently. There is no, let's say, cheating in these processes. We are also advising, we have really top advisors on anti-corruption here in Ukraine who are helping Ukrainian parliament to draft these laws. Most of these comments that we have made in recent days were related to anti-corruption issues. We are hoping to create a system, but as you might have noticed if you read our statements carefully, we have moved from the systemic level to now it's more personal level. Because we see that there are problems, and I'm a journalist here. We see that, as you say, the fish starts to stink from the head. So we issued pretty critical, just read these statements, we issued pretty critical statements towards the leadership of the prosecutor's office. And as you know, who is appointing the prosecutor general in this country? So we are pretty critical as far as we can be in the public sphere. I can assure you that in the, let's say, closed doors talks, we are much more outspoken. We are using all leverage that we have, including the financial leverage. Our American colleagues are really good allies allies here in Ukraine, because they can speak with one voice, often people to represent 20 member states. So often you have to read between lines what we want to say. But there's a lot of things that are happening in this sphere, anti-corruption fight. I think, and I see the first result of that fight. So the space for those who benefit from this corrupted system is being limited, but not because of the Western pressure, but it's mainly because of pressure from inside, from the society, bottom-up pressure. We also help to support investigative journalism in this country. So you might have heard a couple of really good investigators teams on the First National Channel, or the guys who work on Sinstro.info and Hramatske TV. So all this is very important. These are all these small drops of water that help to create a critical mass. The last thing, what I want to say, corruption is everywhere, even in such countries like Nordic countries, Singapore, everywhere. So you can't completely, get rid of it. But what you can do, you can sort of limit it, make people aware. There are three, important things. One is prevention, one is punishment, and the third, I forgot. And we are working on all these issues. But for example, we are also supporting the education. We are also supporting projects that are helping young Ukrainian children, pupils, to get familiar with anti-corruption issues. We are showing them what sort of a deal it is, right? We compare corruption to sort of a cancer, and this country is seriously sick. I would even argue that it's not Russia that is the main enemy. The main enemy is corruption. So once you get rid of corruption, or limit it, get it under control, then this country will be much stronger as a modern state. We will have much stronger institutions, and that will help to defeat the external enemy.
Thank you, Doug, for making your comment. Maybe probably the very, very last question, if somebody has their, maybe Anna, yes.
So, my name is Anna. I'm originally from Spain. I'm currently part of the European Board of IAG. I'm also a journalist. I would like to ask a question to Mr. David Stulik. We have discussed the topics of democracy, security, and also critical thinking. And in this sense, I would like to ask about the situation of freedom of media and freedom of information. Only last month, 40 foreign journalists were banned from the country by President Poroshenko. Then it was lifted by 6 of them, but it was ranging from BBC, journalists from Spain, Germany, Bulgaria, you name it. And so this situation made me wonder, what do you think particularly of this episode in concrete? And how do you see the status of freedom of information in Ukraine, especially since the protest in the Maidan eroded in the conflict itself? Thank you.
There are no journalists here, right? But off the record, right?
Yes.
That was one of the most stupid decisions and mistakes that Ukrainian authorities committed, I think it was 3 weeks ago. Imagine what sort of a diplomatic storm it caused. We were in touch with our colleagues from the British Embassy, the German Embassy, the Spanish Embassy. That was, first thought was that this is a sort of a provocation or sabotage. Eventually it was not. It was, frankly speaking, malfunctioning of the old system of their secret service. So they immediately realized the mistake, so they corrected it and took out these people who had, by mistake the next day. But this is not, let's say, a symptom of the media situation in this country. This is not the issue at all. The problem in this country is like all the media, all the leading media, TV channels are controlled by oligarchs. People, according to the latest public opinion polls, only 2% of Ukrainians trust media. Before Maidan, it was 24%. Because, frankly speaking, and now we have elections campaign, local elections campaign, so all these media are used as a political tool, as a political leverage to promote the political projects of individual oligarchs. This is exactly something that young people here were demonstrating on Maidan against. So this is something that really needs to change. And again, what we, the EU and what other member states or United States or Canada are doing. We are trying to support new media projects, like there's this network of first like activists, journalists who created this internet TV, Maska TV. We also help media, small media outlets in the eastern part of Ukraine. We are helping and funding possibility to get the TV channel signal of Ukrainian stations to the occupied territories. Again, this is something that, frankly speaking, right, should be the priority of the government in this country. So we often now somehow put in the position, this sort of very paternalistic position, you are the EU, so please solve our problem. And this is still this mentality problem which is still prevailing in this country. We don't hear this question from young people. Again, that's for example the issue that we are confronted with when we talk to the government. So the media landscape is really bad. Ukraine was the second country last year with the highest number of killed journalists. It's due to the conflict in the east. But also here in Kiev, there were 2 cases last week when the law enforcement agencies officers have detained and used force against journalists who were doing their normal journalistic work. We also have here a consultative advisory mission of the EU. It's called EUAM, European Union Advisory Mission, which helps to, doesn't have an executive mandate, it's just providing advice. Who is helping to do the reform of law enforcement agencies. Again, what I hear from my colleagues who work at this mission, it's a challenge. I hope it's not a mission impossible, but this is a challenge because if you want to protect your, let's say, oligarchic interests, you need to have control. First, use corruption. Use the corruption towards law enforcement agencies, you use corruption with the prosecutors' offices, then political corruption, and if you all wrap it in a nice package and you sell it through your media, you get completely distorted into virtual reality. But this is something that is being changed.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I will just try to make some kind of a conclusive remarks now, just not overlapping our time for coffee break. So first of all, if I just try to sum up our panel there, I would first of all like to thank all our panelists for their contribution and very sharp comments and remarks on some parts of the discussion we have there. Of course, indeed, we were a bit short of time to discuss some issues relevant not only to Ukraine but to the Eastern Partnership countries there, as it was in the topic of our panel. However, we should always acknowledge one thing, that the challenges that Ukraine faces now, they are not from nowhere, but they have been accumulated for many years, and they have been accumulated also in the other Eastern Partnership countries, like a person being from another Eastern Partnership country citizen. I was just following up on the discussion, and I may see all the same tendencies in my country too there. Non-effective fight against corruption, lack of democracy, low level of protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Probably these are the panels, and also of course the economic competitiveness, there's more there, including also the part in regard and respect of oligopoly and oligarchs there, which are kind of the key elements of economies in Eastern Partnership countries. So to conclude, we have finalized our first panel on the values there. Of course the values are shared and they are common in the Eastern Partnership region. However, it is up to everyone of us there to stand for these values, try to integrate them in our public life, in our public affairs, to make them kind of a directive for the institutional approach, as well as the institution person-to-person approaches. Only in that case we'll be able to achieve a real safeguard of European values, the values that we really understand each other. So these are probably the conclusive remarks now. Probably I will pass the floor now to Alla, because she needs to make some announcement, and afterwards we'll already get to the coffee break. Thank you.
So I would like to thank again to our speakers and present to them with a certificate of appreciation for their contribution, for the great contribution to these panels, as well as with our annual report of IGE Europe with all the information about what our organization was using in the last years. And so this is a review also about 30 years of work of IDEA, so read it and you will know what we are doing actually here. I would like to ask you to give big applause to our speakers. And a short announcement from 12:30 till 2, you will have a thematical session, 4 of them. I will just name them and say in which room they will be, plus just 2 of them are in English. So for foreign participants, we have a beginning choice, but they're still cool, all of them. So the first one, mobility as a right. Why do we need visa liberalization for the YAP countries, which will be in English and will take place in the room number 204. Low youth engagement in voting process, reason and what to do with it in Ukrainian language, room 235. How to discover your life purpose, English language, will be taking place here in this conference room. So in 25 minutes you can come back here and be here for the workshop. And the last one, the generation of founders through desire of independence and self-fulfillment to realization of ideas and professional growth in micro-entrepreneurship. Again, it's in Russian and room 329. Around the university you will find the directions where to go, so you will not be lost around here. So please enjoy your coffee break and see you in the thematical sessions. And in this room at 3 for the second panel. Thank you.
Чудово, потихеньку.